Hello. It's the weekend. It's Saturday, and we are live today with the special Heinz report because this case it needs to it needs a lot of attention. It is the Jonathan Majors case, and for those that don't know about this case, we are going to be running through everything from when it was filed, for when the criminal complaint was filed by Grace Jabari, and the prosecution had taken the court since. We're going to be from the 27th of March 2023 till now. We're going to be covering all of that. And I have some special guests with me, Katt and Nat. Nat and Katt. Nat and Katt. Your names actually rhyme, and that is incredible. I love the fact that your names that your names rhyme. We'll start with you, Nat. Thank you so much for joining us on this stream. Sorry. What do you do?
Is that me you're talking to? I
Yes.
couldn't tell. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi,
Sorry.
I'm Natalie. I'm Natalie. I'm a criminal defense attorney based in Maryland in the United States. And I also have a YouTube channel here called NatLawyerChic, where I discuss legal topics. And sometimes I get a little spicy on Twitter, only sometimes.
And yourself, Katt, Katt, how are you doing? What do you do?
So I think I'll start with I'm probably more so on the getting spicy on Twitter side. I'm not a lawyer. I just really like to dig down into inconsistencies and, look at how reactions to things match reality or don't match reality, and also how that reality can shift as people learn more about what's going on with any given case. So just straight up commentary, and a little bit spicy sometimes.
Well, I am very happy to have both of you here with me because it's very because this case is in Manhattan, New York. I don't know anything. I just discovered about the tri-state area today, and I thought it was from. I've always heard about it from a show called Phineas and Ferb, so I never knew what it was until today. So, but you both are from New York, and it is very good to have both your heads on this. And I will start with you, Nat, because the legalities around this case it's been confusing because it was meant to be a speedy trial, and it's been delayed from, I believe it was the 3rd of June was what was the first trial date, and then it's been delayed until the 3rd of September, 3rd of August. Sorry, not June, August. Then delayed and more. Like, what are the natures of this delays? Why does it actually happen? Because I've been trying to wrap my head around that for so long.
Yeah. So without knowing the particular facts of the case, delays in a criminal trial are extremely normal, mainly because there is an investigative piece that's ongoing up until the day of the trial, and the prosecution has to turn over whatever it is that they have. Usually there's scheduling issues that cause for trials to be delayed, and witness availability issues. And in other cases with like forensic testing, not a case like this, but where you've got like DNA or something, those are always going to take a while, and there will be delays because of that. If you remember the Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion case,
Yes.
that happened in like 2019, 2020, but didn't come to the end until 2023. Completely normal. Our criminal justice system is slow. It's very rare that you'll be charged with something and then it'll get to a conviction right away. It just takes a while.
Okay. So why is it called a speedy trial then? Because in my head I'm thinking, oh, it must be tomorrow or like 2 months from now. Or so why is it called a speedy trial? Like it does it mean anything legally? Like what's the difference between a speedy trial and a normal trial?
Right. So you have a constitutional right under the U.S. Constitution to a fair, public, and speedy trial, which is really supposed to be to the benefit of the defendant. So before that constitutional guarantee, historically speaking, you could have charges hanging over your head and you'd be held in the docks basically forever without the case ever really going to trial. You just get accused of something and it never comes to trial. Yeah. So there's it's not really there's like two different standards when it comes to speedy trial. There's a state speedy trial that usually has a type of day limit on it or month limit. And then there's the constitutional speedy trial analysis. And as long as the prosecution is diligently pursuing the investigation of the case, a lot of the times they'll find that it's not a speedy trial issue. And many times the defendant themselves will waive their right to a speedy trial in order to do their own investigation or do further plea negotiations with the prosecution, because sometimes a delay is helpful to the defense. Witnesses can go away and decide they don't want to come back anymore. The case kind of loses some of the fervor that's all around it. It gets a little less press. Maybe you wanted to take a little while to come to court. So it's a strategic move, whether or not you want your trial to be right away or not. And sometimes it's a gotcha. Like you come to the trial date, that the prosecution is not ready, and you're like, no, I'm ready to go to trial. And if you can get the judge to let it go forward and not give the prosecution a continuance, then it's the prosecution's burden of proof. And so you can win the case that way because they're not able to produce the evidence because they didn't do it in a timely fashion. So it's really on a case-by-case basis, but there is a constitutional right to a speedy trial.
Right. So based on everything that you've just explained, it was very comprehensive, and I love that. What would the trial start? Because the new trial day is now 19th of November. Mm-hmm. Is that likely to just be pushed up again and again and again? Like when do you predict that this would, really go to trial?
I can't predict, but I don't think they're going to trial on November 19th. I don't think that's likely at all. They're going to have issues with jury selection because of the popularity and fame of the defendant. They're going to have issues with jurisdiction and venue. They're going to have a whole bunch of issues. So they'll probably want to take their time as much as possible. And trust me, I really don't think the defense is trying to hurry up and get this case to trial, because maybe they're hoping that some of the witnesses become less interested in continuing with the case. So I wouldn't anticipate that.
That's very interesting that you did bring up the public nature of this trial, because it struck to me, especially with the amount of material that's out there. Mm-hmm. And now the jury selection is not there. Well, I mean, they haven't selected the jury yet or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Could you run through the concept of of tainting the jury pool? Like, would it being played? No, because it's very high profile now. Would it being played out like this? Can the materials that's already out there with a trial date set, can the materials be used in the case? Would it be kicked out of the case? Because who knows what the jury has seen at this point? Like, what's going on there?
So that's such a good question, because I think both the prosecution and the defense have played a role in potentially tainting a jury pool, because the both of them have made so many statements to the press and released information that I normally as a practitioner would not want to have out before a trial. Right. And so what you're talking about, that concept, is that, the jury comes from members of the community, the county in which the crime is alleged to have occurred. And so, with an unknown person, say a run-of-the-mill assault, more than likely no one's heard about it. And so they can set aside whatever it is because they don't know anything about the case. There's no risk of them having a preconceived notion. But here you have someone who's relatively famous, Jonathan Majors, and then you have a lot of media coverage surrounding the fact that he was charged, because it was a big fall from grace once he was charged. And so you do have the potential for people to start forming their own opinions. That does not mean that the evidence will get kicked out. It just means that there will be more of a thorough, what's called voir dire process, which is the process to try and pick the jury, so that they can make sure that even if those people have heard about the case, they can set aside whatever it is that they've heard to remain fair and impartial and give him a fair trial. Right. So they don't throw out the evidence just because the general public has heard about it.
Right.
Yeah, so it'll still come in if it's otherwise admissible, like if it's relevant, if it's not hearsay, and if it has a foundation to come in, all the evidence will likely come in at trial.
Right. I will turn my attention to the. Oh, no, go on.
Oh, I was going to say, and then just quick for the audience, can you just explain, the difference between taking a plea rather than getting a jury verdict?
Yeah, so when you take a plea, you reach an agreement with the prosecution to plead guilty in order for either the prosecution to make a recommendation on sentencing, or sometimes you have what's called a binding plea, where you know that the judge is going to do exactly what the parties have agreed to. And so you know what the outcome is going to be, but you're giving up your right to remain silent. You're giving up your right to a trial, and you're giving up your presumption of innocence, right? There's no way that you can say you didn't do anything because you're pleading guilty to something, even if that's a disorderly conduct, like something lower. On the other hand, when you decide to go to a trial, you're saying, I'm going to take my chance with the jury and have them determine if I'm guilty or not guilty. And I'm going to maintain my presumption of innocence, my right to remain silent. And I am going to take the chance that either I get found not guilty on everything and I go home and my name is cleared, or, well, that's a relative term within the public eye, but you get a not guilty on the record, right? You maintain innocence throughout. You're never found guilty, or you could potentially be found guilty of some or all of the charges. And then you know that if you get found guilty after a jury trial, the prosecution is more than likely, not always, but more than likely going to make a more harsh recommendation for sentencing. So it's just more of a risk. But of course, if you maintain that you're innocent, you didn't commit a crime, most people don't want to plead guilty to something that they didn't do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just to turn my attention to the chat, thank you so much for everyone that's here. I will read your chats out. I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping at this point. The normal YouTube things. Make sure you like and share this, and get your questions ready, because feel free to ask not anything to understand this case, because it is very prudent to do so. Misinformation is going out a lot out there, and
Mhm.
I am very appalled to see that it's from big style magazines, and we'll go into that just now, because
Mhm.
this is where you come in, because I saw your thread. I think there's a couple of people here that seen into Niger HTX. Says Katt's been doing a phenomenal job on Twitter keeping up with the case. He has been literally the threads, very comprehensive, very thorough, and I believe, so just to go through that, just just to just to go on with that, could you run me through what happened with the Messenger article and why Variety was involved? Because I saw Daily, what is it called, Daily Loud posted it, but it was community noted, and then you're like, no, that's false. The
The community
community
note
note
is
is false.
wrong.
Is false itself. So when I hear things like that, I'm thinking, right, if you're saying the community note is false, we need to go into this. Like, why did you say it was false? Like,
So to couch it into context, just to kind of make it binary. It's not completely binary, but we're going to make it binary. You have outlets like the New York Post, the Insider, making these takes that are coming from evidence that's being released by the defense team or by a third party. Sometimes it won't exactly say it's from the defense team. But then you
right,
have Rolling Stone and Variety and a few others on the other side that seem to be getting documents directly from the prosecution and hints about evidence that the prosecution has. So you kind of have different outlets, opposing outlets with different sources making totally different headlines. With the Messenger, they're not an outlet that many people, have on top of mind for reporting, but they had someone with a direct tip. They broke the story that Grace Jabari was voluntarily going to appear to surrender to face charges in New York's 10th precinct, which is Soho, Manhattan, Wall Street, that area. Because
right,
remember, they went to two different police precincts to file reports. One for
right,
the assault spilling out of the car, the other for, and I think it's the same precinct, it involves the Soho sidewalk surveillance video, which we'll talk about, I'm sure. And then where his penthouse is, that's the same precinct. So they had gone to two different police precincts back in June, the beginning of June. But the iCard that was issued this week, where the Messenger broke the story, was the 10th precinct. And they broke this story on the night of the 23rd. You have his hearing date, his motion to dismiss hearing, coming up on the 25th. On the very morning of the 24th, after this news broke, you have, yeah, this is last week. This is like a couple days ago, still fresh. you have Rolling Stone and Variety both publish these really long, detailed articles. So, put that into context. These writers have been preparing these things and putting them together. And in that article, they're referencing, although not very clearly, an opposition that the prosecution filed to the motion to dismiss, that their deadline was October 6th, but they apparently filed it on October 13th. Right. So Rolling Stone and Variety are referencing this October 13th opposition filing, where the prosecution's responding to the defense's argument, who had argued, hey, you guys have done nothing to produce anything related to an investigation into your witness, Grace Jabari. You're supposed to, it's your statutory obligation to produce that stuff for us. And we also have reason to believe that you've been communicating with the NYPD. Detective Mejia, they dropped a name, which was, I was like, ooh, and tried to get them to deactivate the iCard and decide not to arrest Grace Jabari. You haven't let us know that you've conferred any benefits for her to return to the country to come testify, which you're obligated to do. And so they're responding in this October 13th argument to counter that, as you expect. But the Rolling Stone and Variety articles were referencing this October 13th to pull this line that, oh, there's contrary to what the messenger has reported. And they explicitly stated contrary to what the messenger has reported, there's no plan to arrest Grace Jabari. So you've got this somewhat smaller outlet with a break that is being debunked by the Rolling Stone and Variety, and all day on the 24th. If you went on social media, anyone that was talking about this topic was, oh, it's been debunked by Rolling Stone. It's been debunked by Variety. And then she turns herself in at 5 p.m. The news breaks at 8:01 p.m. that she's leaving the precinct. And all the tabloids were there taking pictures of her. So it was known. It wasn't just like a mystery thing. You have TMZ outside the building, all of them. And then Twitter's basically like, oh, well, what's going on now?
Yeah. So before we go into the surveillance cameras and what has been picked up and what has been brought up, because it's mind-boggling to see how this is completely twisted on his head. What I saw the messenger posted a new article that says that the DA are not going to pursue the case at all against Grace Jabari. What's going on there? Like, why?
So they didn't even wait 24 hours. So she leaves the precinct at 8 p.m. with third-degree domestic assault misdemeanor charges, and I think they stuck her with something for larceny. For it was alleged she stole watches. It was something above a certain amount. I don't actually know the exact amount to qualify in that district. But she had those two charges when she left, and her attorney, Ross Kramer, while leaving the precinct, made a public statement. This is like 8:05 p.m. the day before the next hearing. He makes this very bold statement saying, before we got here, the DA already told us there would be absolutely no legal repercussions whatsoever for Grace Jabari. And, that might be true. That might be true for a valid reason. But in my head, that's a very bold thing to come out the gate saying, that they already told you they weren't going to investigate. And then as soon as the news cycle starts the following morning, it's announced that the DA has dropped the charges. So less than 24 hours.
Right.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When did he file the charges against Grace Jabari in the two different precincts? Was that in June?
Back in June.
Okay, so both charges were filed in June of 2023. And when did she file charges against him?
So that was with the same day. So March 25th. I think it was dated March 25th, the original police complaint. So same day. And then it was amended on April 13th. She requested the full protective order and also amended the complaint, specifically, quote, to reflect her perspective as opposed to the police officer's perspective. So it is, at least of April 13th, it is Grace Jabari continuing to make these accusations as far as the amended complaint goes.
Yeah, and that's when the strangulation charge was dropped, and there was no more strangulations. It was just something else. So it's been a whirlwind trying to figure this out. For you, Nat, because I want to understand this. How common is it? Like, how common is it to have the defense saying, no, she was hitting me, I've got this proof, this and that. And he's being charged of, hitting, assault, etc. But he's got his own trial going on and she's not being charged. How common is that? Like, how common is that dynamic? I should say, it's just us.
This whole scenario is unfortunately extremely common, right? Because a lot of the times assaults are based on, what's one person's assault could be another person's self-defense. You just never know, because a lot of times no one else is there, especially when it comes with intimate partners. So what I wanted to explain about this and why I'm very excited to come on here is that this is such a common occurrence that prosecutors can take several tacks in order to tactically deal with what we call cross complaints. Each person is saying the other person assaulted them. So they can, as they've done here, pick a side, right? They can decide we're going to pick the woman as the victim, the male as the perpetrator, and we're not going to pursue the male's charges. And that could be for several reasons. It could be because the woman is more seriously injured. It could be because they just don't believe the man, or it could be because strategically and tactically speaking, it's nearly impossible to prosecute two people for the same assault at the same time. The other tack that they could choose is to charge them both. So they could charge them both and then just let it play out however it plays out. But what happens there is that they run into something called a cross fifth. So if she's charged and he's charged, then they both have a Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. And so she would not want to testify against him in order to preserve her rights because she is charged. And so they won't be able to prove the case against him, and they won't be able to prove the case against her. And that's why they normally pick a side, because if it's like a misdemeanor, low-level assault that they're not taking very seriously, sometimes they'll charge both. But something like this, where it seems like they've invested time, money, and attention to, they're picking the bigger fish. And so they're not going to charge her because that will neutralize her as a witness. She can't testify because she's also charged. Here's the flip side of that. They've chosen her, they've picked her side, and they're going to prosecute him. But the fact that he took out charges means that the defense on cross-examination is going to say that this is a biased prosecution where you only picked one side. You didn't let the justice system play its way out. And she received a benefit of her charges being dropped in exchange for her testimony. And so you shouldn't believe what she says. It's what the defense is going to say. It's what I would say. You shouldn't believe what she says, because she's only saying this so that she can avoid being prosecuted for having assaulted him. She is the abuser, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's key context to remember that, she's London-based. She's from London. She was obviously in a relationship with Jonathan Majors for some years, because in the video, if we have the audio on, you'll hear her say, like, I know where I live. Like, she kind of like, she's referring to their shared residence, right? But she's a movement coach, a body coach. So she lists London and New York in her bio for people to come hire her for work. So there's that other flip side where you can't just conclude that the only reason she's coming back here is to be a witness against Jonathan Majors. She might very well want to come back here, get her work visa back, and then continue with her career. So it's, even though I think the timing suggests that she's coming back, and at this point in time, because she is willing to testify, I think the events of this week, it would be very unlikely, unless she changes her mind, that she's not currently willing to testify. But at the same time, there is that, it's not like she could just go back to London and live a happy life. She'd be leaving behind half of her work and career if she could not come back to New York, if this iCard was just standing open.
That's a really good point, obviously. And if you're going to come back, if you're informed that we're not going to pursue charges against you, Why would you have an open case against yourself if you don't come back? So she was going to come back. That doesn't surprise me. I'll also point out that the prosecution said something in one of these articles that I recently read, which was basically like his belated charges. And one of the calculus that the prosecution will do in deciding which side to pick if they're not going to allow for a cross fifth is who filed first. Right. And if they think the other person filed in a retaliatory way to get back at the person for filing charge, they're not going to pursue the charges against what they think of as charges that are only in retaliation. And that's why I asked what the time period was between when she filed and he filed. So April, May, June, what is that? A 3-month gap is a pretty significant. Yeah, pretty significant gap that he decided to charge her. And they know that his attorneys will know that if they did decide to pursue charges against her, there would be an issue of them both wanting to plead the fifth. So I'm just saying, I'm not choosing a side here because I really don't know, but there's a lot of analysis that goes into whether or not the prosecution decides to pursue one party or the other.
Well, and one last question before we get into looking at, what's available as evidence here. Mm-hmm. He's retained a defamation attorney, and this was in response to that. This was back in June. This was because the Rolling Stone published that huge expose with the big headline that dozens of others accused him of physical abuse. And the article does list some condemning things, but it didn't quite add up to the headline. He retained Dustin Push, I think is his name, who's already won a case against the Rolling Stone. He just opened a new law firm like a month ago with some power heads in the defamation space. But putting that into the context of what happened in June with him filing the other charges, we knew that at that point, the ADA wasn't going to drop the charges, that it was going to keep moving forward. So that's one motivation to think like, well, damn. But then we also have, the prosecution's not producing evidence according to the the defense at this point. But then the Rolling Stone publishes this huge investigative piece. Like the Rolling Stone is out there, boots on the ground, doing the legwork, right? And then he hires a defamation attorney. So could that have been strategic for him to go and file that report in any way for a civil case down the line?
So yes, but so here's the thing with his filing, which his filing, and then on top of that, his attorney at the time when this first happened, her kind of media blitz that she went on, right? It can all be interpreted, not to say that it is, because he has a lot to lose, but it could all be interpreted as being extremely manipulative. Like you're filing these charges only to force her to not testify. Because really, if the prosecution decided to pick up those charges, she wouldn't be able to testify, right? And also, you're telling all this behind the scenes stuff that really should be saved for court, because why would you put the prosecution onto your best possible defenses, your trial strategy, when you don't have to? So it's like you don't really intend to play this case out in court. You intend to play it out in the court of public opinion and maybe damage her reputation to the point where she won't want to go forward with the charges anymore. I'm honest to God, not saying that that's what's happening here. I'm just saying that
it's going to be brought up. It's
how it's going to, in the trial, the prosecutor is going to say, didn't you make this? His statements from his attorney are going to be imputed onto him, and they're going to use them against him in the trial. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, this just wasn't, I understand, like, the defamation lawyer kind of makes me roll my eyes a little bit, because it's like, this is not the time for you to worry about your reputation. This is the time for you to avoid a criminal conviction. And they're doing several things that lets me know a lot of these are like Hollywood lawyers, and that's nothing against Hollywood lawyers, but they're just really worried about image and, stopping the leaks and stopping when you really need to like shut it all down. Stop talking to the media, stop doing like staged interventions of kids fighting. I don't know if you guys saw that. Stop all that.
That was the same day this video came out. That went viral, and this was the same day that this video actually came out.
I didn't see. I saw the
same
the
date,
stage.
September 14th.
I didn't know that. See, that's why I'm glad I'm talking to you, Katt, because I never even saw this. I just saw the stage fight where he's breaking up a fight between.
It got drowned. It got drowned by that video. Like,
and so what they're going to do is just imagine, did you stage a fight between kids so that it would drown out the video coming out about you assaulting her? You know, they're gonna ask him that if he gets on the stand.
Right.
They're going to try to bring it in some other type of way. So they're doing a lot of things that kind of look like consciousness of guilt a little bit. Like, you really need to be careful of trying to fix your image before worrying about, can they prove that an assault happened on this day? Because your actions afterwards can kind of go to your intent. So you have to be very careful with that. And so I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned he's not getting good counsel about, you know, what's more important here. I know a lot of money is probably bleeding. I know they put his movie on hold. I know that he was like in Disney and all that type of stuff, Marvel Universe and all that. I get it, but you don't want to go to prison, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Tory Lanez really tried to play his case in the court of public opinion, and he ended up in prison, you know? like you really have to be careful. And it just, that's why I don't talk about any of my cases. I just really feel like he's really damaging himself here. But that's just my opinion.
Do you think it's something that he probably, or is, I don't think it's his lawyer, because I have heard a few comments about her saying that she is pretty much like this, like almost a bulldog that plays in the media sphere.
Yeah.
I've seen Flippin's comments. I didn't really take him seriously because it's Twitter that I saw it on. It's not like I read it in an article, but I do know that she's part of podcasts. You know that she's part of podcasts, and she is really anti-establishment, and you know, and she really reveals the other side of New York law from what I've seen. From what I've seen. So I could be wrong. If, like, you know, my interpretation is up for, you know, poking holes.
Sure.
But it's do you think that this is more of a reaction because of his image, because of that it's not necessarily to shut her up, but it's more of, hey, this guy was going to the top, and all of a sudden one day, bang, 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 like literally dominoes, like literally everything was falling to the wayside. Do you think that everything that was doing this is not necessarily, it's more of they believe that their case is strong, that he's not going to go to prison, that they're now showing that? I don't know, but that's just what I'm seeing. Like, what do you think of that?
Well, and keep in mind I would say just keep in mind why this happened, right? It was the call when she was passed out. And we'll get into the details of that, but it's not because someone saw them brawling on the street and then they got pulled away and arrested right then and there. Like this arrest, think of it from a human perspective. You know, you have a couple that's been dating, they're fighting, there's infidelity, there's jealous text messages. Someone gets upset. Allegedly, she threatened to kill herself, passed out in the closet, knocked out, non-responsive, and we have a 911 call, right? So the precipitory piece that brought the police into the picture was that 911 call that really didn't directly happen because of any tussle. It was delayed. It was after.
Right.
No, I'm thinking, because I completely understand that there's like two sides to everything, as far as your client's life and then your client's their freedom, right? And their criminal record. And as a criminal defense attorney, I often have to ask my clients to sacrifice portions of their life in order for us to get the best possible outcome in our case. And so when you're facing criminal charges, sometimes your reputation just takes a hit and there's nothing you can do about it until the case is over with. The biggest vindication being that you win in court. It's not a criminal case that I'm about to use an example of, but I think it's a good example. You know, Johnny Depp's reputation was just trashed when he went into the trial with Amber Heard, the defamation trial. His reputation had been clearly harmed. It was very obvious, you know, that his reputation was very harmed, but we didn't really hear much from him as a person. You know, his spokesperson made a little statement, and that was, you know, kind of got him in trouble, and that was it, right? Like, if it wasn't for a spokesperson making statements, he wouldn't even had any claims found against him, but that was it. And then he won, and then he just kind of went quiet again. And that's how you win the case, though. You know, like, that's how you win the case. You gotta keep a lid on it. I know it's hard. I really, really know it's hard. And if he's presumed to be innocent, and so it's not fair to ask him to prove himself innocent. And you don't take that burden on yourself of proving your client innocent. Be quiet, grind, and then come to court and kill it in court, because you do not have to prove your client innocent. And so, you know, I know that's hard because PR is a separate beast, but I don't think a lot of his statements are helpful. And even though the interpretation is, I'm just saying these things so that I can help my reputation, they could in turn hurt his criminal case, because the prosecution could twist what's being said to mean something else. And so that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You guys are making some really good points.
No, I appreciate, I do appreciate, you know, what you had to say in regards to that, because it is very nuanced when you look at it. I mean, I can look at it from a business sense, and I can understand it and be like, yeah, he has to go out and be the PR, you know, he has to fight it, you know, but the legal sense, it is destroying your case at the same time. You know, it's not really helping your case, that from what I've I've understood from you. So based on that, do you think what do you think of the legal team's performance so far? Have they really represented him well? Because they brought in they brought in, maybe I could say allegations of police corruption, you know, chasing him because he's, you know, targeting him because he's a black man, and, you know, there's racial bias within. Like, personally, when I read those articles, I was like, oh, come on, man. You're saying my case is not that strong. Like, come on, my guy. Don't make this. But does it have merit? Like, what do you think?
I don't know, because I haven't seen anything to indicate one way or the other. Honestly, I don't know, but I feel like save it for court because I want to make it really, really clear, right? Discovery is the evidence that the prosecution has to provide to us. And we also, defense, have a discovery obligation, right? If we have witnesses or documents that we're going to introduce at trial, or testing, forensics done, we have to give that over to the prosecution. What we do not have to give them is our trial strategy and our theory of the case. And they are telling the prosecution right now, this is our trial strategy. This is what we're going to tell the jury. I cannot tell you how many times I have absolutely loved being in a trial. And I'm very friendly with the prosecutor, for the most part, with the prosecutors in the county that I practice in. You know, we have a nice little banter. Okay, thanks for sending this over. Here's what I have. Here's what you have. Cards on the table. And then we start the trial, and I say, my client is a victim of police brutality. And their faces go, what? Because they had no idea that's where I was going with it. Like, oh, I can't believe that we got this guy on video committing a crime, and Natalie is over here saying it's police brutality and corruption. You want to catch them off guard with something like that. Now they're going to build a great case around defending against your defense, which you never had to do. Just like the prosecution, they don't need to turn over their trial strategy either. They just need to turn over the evidence they intend to use and anything that might exonerate your client. But here, the prosecution is not turning over any trial strategy. They can't figure out why they're not charging her, even though I can figure it out. And it's like, you guys are doing too much in the media. That's all I'm trying to say. They're doing way too much in the media, when it's very possible. I mean, look, at least it's out there that we at least know there's a possibility she initiated the assault, or that she assaulted him, or that she exaggerated choking when choking didn't actually happen. Okay, let that sit. Let them be surprised by everything else from here on out. That's just my opinion. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn over to the chat now because you guys have been lively. Do
Oh, okay.
if you guys do wanna
I'm looking
send
at
super chats to help grow the channel, that it would really help. With all of this, I just want to say hi to Nicholas Starro of Trial Watch for joining the stream, and he basically says here, in some areas it is political suicide to prosecute a woman in a he says she says situation, prosecutors and re-elections. That's a very good point, because that's a very good point. What do you have to like do you have anything that that you can share in regards to what Nicholas has said here?
Well, so when it comes to Alvin Bragg, and I don't know if this is because, I only moved down to Florida like 4 years ago now, and I still have a lot of friends in New York. So some of this I feel like I see because of my algorithm, right? And how that works. But there is, from time to time, you see those complaints about Alvin Bragg doing something for the media again, or the DA's office in Manhattan and elections. So whether there's actually anything behind that to validate that, it is still a public sentiment, and public sentiment affects elections. So it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right.
And then on the other side, you also have right now, I really don't know the details, but there is a contentious case where the DA has decided to charge an NYPD officer for, I don't know the details, but, probably something misconduct, police brutality. And that creates a rift, right? That creates a rift between the NYPD and the district's attorneys. And so when we hear that there's a disagreement between the NYPD and the district attorney on this specific case, you do want to wonder, is it because of the merits and the details of this case that they're disagreeing over probable cause and prosecutorial merit? Or is it just stemming from an ongoing beef where I'm going to turn my arms and make this difficult for you because I have another issue with you? And whether it's valid why it's happening or not, it's a possibility that there is a rift. Prosecution and NYPD are at odds for whatever reason.
Right.
No, that does happen everywhere you go. That sometimes maybe there's a particular prosecutor that has a beef with a particular officer, or vice versa, or just there's like a statewide or countywide or region-wide issue. So that does happen. But also, to the point of the commenter's question, I do think there is a disparity, and I don't think it's political, even though many things are politics. I think it's just like a bias that a lot of people have, where in a domestic violence situation, the man is charged over the woman. That does happen quite frequently, and you're seeing more and more prosecuting offices waking perpetrators of intimate partner violence. So it's just a prejudice that a lot of people have. They can't conceive of it. And so in my cases where I represent the man in that dynamic, and I'm convinced that the woman was the initial aggressor or the perpetrator,
Right.
Juries are starting to understand it more, and dislike it. And so that can form a really robust defense where you can show, like, actually, I'm the victim of her violence. And by restraining her from hitting me, sure, I left some marks on her wrists or whatever, but I did not hit her. She was hitting me. So people do understand that. But it is hard sometimes to get the prosecutors to charge for it.
Right. Thank you so much for that breakdown. I didn't know that people were actually, the jury is actually starting to wise up now, because if you see what I watch, it sounds like doom and gloom. If you're accused, and you're a man, it's almost the end. So
it's confirmation bias, and also I'm seeing it in court all the time, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you, but I'm thinking about where I've seen like an abuser is an abuser, guys, and they have a certain tell when they testify, and you can see it, and it comes across, and people don't like it. If you know how to needle them just right, you can get them to expose it on cross-examination. And
Right.
so I've had that happen where the woman is the abuser and I have gotten her to come around. And when they lash out like that, the juries hate it. They don't like feeling like they've been lied to by the opening statement and the witness's initial direct examination. And if they get a peek like this person is lying to me or this person is abusing, or at least there's doubt as to whether or not they're the initial abuser, you're going to get that not guilty. So it can play to the defense's favor because people really underestimate juries, but they really have a fundamental sense of fairness, that I've seen. And if you can appeal to that, then that's how you can have the best possible outcomes.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that. I do have one question to ask in regards to all of this, and it's again it goes back to the details of the case so far that has been released has been a barrage. I'm gonna change my word a bit here. Not a barrage, a series of text messages from, I believe it was from after the altercation around, I think that was 12:30 a.m. in New York until 3:23 a.m. She was sending in messages.
So the text started at 3 a.m. when she left the club, and then continued. So
okay. So
she went out
right.
till like 3 or so. When she left the club,
Right.
she called him. I always get the number wrong. I want to say 37 times she called him and was also text messaging him. The 37 was for phone rings. They described it as every 30 seconds. But they only just described texting. They didn't say how many. They said a barrage of texts that switched between angry and jealous, with the final text being, an allusion to possible suicide.
Right.
Can you tell me, do we have the texts themselves or just...
So we have a clip of the last thing she said in the morning before he woke up and said, leave the keys, but it's cut off. And it says, I think it was in the chat. But if you have the screenshot of the text, you can see that little sliver. And she says that there's no note, but just letting you know what happened.
Yeah. So, it was in the TMZ article. So that's what she's.
Well, I'm sorry. What's this video here, Katt? Because I never got to see it. What is it?
So this was Insider published this. There's an article that came out on September 14th, same as that. Soho buildings.
Yeah. Local 7-Eleven doesn't have audio.
No way.
Hold on, can you pause, Heinz? That text on the bottom is from Insider. It is not closed captioning.
Oh.
So it's not what they're saying. When you heard him say no way, she says that she's Jonathan Major's girlfriend.
She broke.
No, he's off screen. He's off screen. This is after he got out of the car and ran down the sidewalk.
Can you pause it? No, it's okay. I guess so I have a question. So he's not in camera. She's telling the person she's Jonathan Major's girlfriend.
Right.
The writing on the bottom is not live captioning of what's being said, but they're saying she said her finger was broken.
She does not say this to them in the audio. That's very important, and it's annoying that they put this overlay. She does not verbalize any injuries whatsoever in this audio, in this video. She only verbalizes that he was texting other women. He saw a text on the phone, and that he ran away. And then she goes on.
Okay, he saw a text on the phone, and he ran away. Okay, so
she saw a text on his phone.
And he ran away.
Ran away. And she reiterates that to these strangers on the street.
These are strangers on the street. These are not people she knows.
Nope. She goes out with them later in the night, but at this point, she's just meeting them.
Is there any allegation later on that at this point he had assaulted her?
Yes. So the defense wrote this in their motion to dismiss that they still had it. I forget the term for it, but the thing that lays out the timing and order of events. They had still not produced that, but in the charges, they said that the assault happened in the car. He was bending her finger to pry the phone off in the first incident, twisted her right arm behind her back, and then he asked the driver to stop. They get out into the street. They get back in the car. Then they tussle again. They get out of the car. Jabari is supposed to be hitting him. This is where allegedly the coat button is ripped off. This is just what the defense is alleging. And he gets scratched up. We do have a picture of the scratch on the arm that we could presume maybe is from this time. They get back in the car. This is where she came up with the amended complaint language when she had the bruise on her right arm because of him throwing her into the car. He says he pulled her out of traffic while she was fighting to get them out of moving traffic with the door open in traffic. So they drive again a little bit more. They're still fighting. They pull over one more time. And this is where this surveillance video comes from when he gets out of the car. She gets out behind him. She leaves her purse in the car, or one of them leaves. No one takes the purse. So this is a livery driver. It's a private hire driver service. They leave the bag in the car. She's telling these people in this video she has no phone, you don't have your wallet, your phone, or anything to get a ride back home. And they are starting to offer to help. So that's this point. Jonathan Majors will come back into this shot, but they never start driving again. They never.
Right.
Okay, so just let me think a little bit. Process.
It's a lot.
If I'm the defense attorney here, what I'm pointing out is she's not immediately reporting that she's just been assaulted.
And you'll see, Heinz, can you round out? You see those flashing lights in the back? Yeah, those are police. It's New York. They're everywhere.
Yeah, and so she doesn't get help from law enforcement passing by. She's talking to people and tells them what her issues are, but they don't include an assault. And to me, a broken finger indicates that you hit someone and you broke your finger.
Right.
And we'll hear about that from the doctor too. So pin that.
Is she injured? Because if she was injured,
she's supposed to already have her broken/fractured finger at this point in time on her right hand, as well as lacerations to the side of her ear.
But they're not saying to her, "Hey, what's up with these lacerations on the side of your ear?"
And she doesn't mention them. That's why that overlay text is annoying, because it makes it seem like she says that out loud. But she doesn't. Right. It's just insiders saying she has already claimed in her statements that she was injured before this moment.
I got it. I understand now.
Yeah.
We've got reasonable doubt all over this. His attorneys really need to stop with the media blitz. It's making him look guilty. There's reasonable doubt all over this. Just let this play out in court. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was literally about to say, now I get why they feel like they need to lawyer up on the other side, because it is a strong case, but at the same time, I'm like, at the same time, I need to turn off my PR brain, because from your perspective, it makes complete sense. Like, the more you talk about this you're just putting him in disrepute, because of course the other articles are gonna pick up what the prosecutors are trying to argue and put that on blast and make things so much worse than what they are, because everything that's brought out here and from the video itself, this is not someone that looks like she's in fear that this guy could turn around in the corner and come chase her down and knock her. Well, I mean, it's in public, so I don't have to go that extreme, but you get what I'm trying to say.
She's not acting like she's just been assaulted. She's not acting like she's just been assaulted.
I want to say what's funny is you're going to see the girl, and we find out somewhere it was said that her name was Chloe. I think she ended up giving a statement. It's not a public statement, but Chloe is the other girl in this video. She's the boyfriend of the guy in the white hat. They explain in the video, like, oh, this is my girlfriend or whatever. And that's when she comes back into the frame. At the end of this video, we're going to see the girlfriend actually thwack her boyfriend in the chest. And it's just to me, it's just so ironic that here we are in public. It was just a natural
spoilers, by the way. Spoiler alert. Just so
you know that that's not Jabari hitting someone. Jabari is the woman in the white, black, checkered button-down shirt.
I think it's gold. Before I go back to the video, I'm just gonna read a couple more chats and say hi to Freddie Stardust. Welcome. Ada Buzo asked, I think we may have answered this, but she asked, she or he I don't know. Can he sue Rolling Stone and Variety after a trial if he wins? I'm not sure if we've answered that, but
Well, you can sue anyone, but
Yeah,
I think the target would be that Rolling Stone article.
Yeah,
now,
but the thing is, they're gonna say that they were going off of what the prosecution told them, so
right. Oh, okay.
they
Easy
believe it.
defense.
Yeah, they were, you know, it was a matter of opinion. He's a public figure. That's gonna be really, really hard to prove.
Right. Okay. So
Mhm.
now it makes sense why you say there's no need to lure up and do all those things because
It's
and-
like,
yeah,
you know, what's
yeah,
gonna, yeah, the best possible PR is winning the case.
right.
It would be such good PR because the whole PR stunt overshadowed what looks like really good evidence, you know?
Yeah, right.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I made a stop for this. I had to understand and I hadn't seen it before.
No,
Thank you
no,
so much
no.
for saying that.
I actually think it's a good juncture because I was watching it myself when Katt first
Mhm.
done this, and when she put this up, I think it was 5 a.m. Or something like I don't know. It's quite late for me, so sorry, quite early for me when I woke up to see it. But she put it up at 9 o'clock my time, but I didn't see it until when I woke up. So I was really dazed and I was trying to wait, what's going on? She's saying this, and I'm so happy that you actually did explain that what I read on those things was what she was not actually saying because it doesn't actually
Yeah, the
like
overlays are really
yeah
confusing, but
yeah
it's
it
just to
really
give
was
people the
confusing.
context that she's supposed to already be injured.
Yeah.
And keep in mind too, the timestamp at the top of the video is 49 minutes, so you figure that's just close to 1 a.m.
Mhm.
before they go out. So
Yeah.
12:49.
Yeah,
Right.
good point.
I'm
Good point.
I'm gonna go back to the video and
Mhm.
we'll
But not saying she's been assaulted.
Can I get you in the car? I don't want to leave you because we're about to get in our car. Can I help you get a car? Can I help you get a taxi? Okay. I know where I live. So I live in Phyllis Avenue. Okay, let's get you.
I hear texting.
All right, fair game, girlie.
I'll get you home.
chat, let me know if you can hear. If you can't hear, let me know quickly so that I can, let me increase or decrease.
No, hold on. I'm gonna hail you a cab, and we're gonna have anything contained in it. No. Wait, Chloe, I never walk. I've got a lot of money. When I'm here, I have $50 I saw. I'm gonna pretend that you guys know the best store, man.
Wait. Sorry. I gotta pause this. I'm sorry. She's more worried about the not having a purse than any injuries. I'm sorry, but this is incriminating. This is so bad. She's actually more worried about the phone and all of those things than getting help for any injuries that she may have. I mean, if you had to defend a client like this, Natalie, what would you do? Seeing that the prosecution, damn it, is that the right way to say it? Yeah, seeing that. Oh no, other way. If you're prosecuting a case like this, how would you prosecute with the defense having a? I'm not sure if I'm asking the right question.
Basically, I think I understand the question you're asking, though, which is, you've got a witness that may potentially be unreliable. And you have to anticipate the fact that the defense is going to say, if this happened in the wake of it running into somebody, she would say, oh my God, I was just assaulted, right? And she wouldn't just be talking about her phone and her purse and all types of, and I'm with Jonathan Majors and all types of stuff like that. And all they're going to do, the only thing that they really can do is just say that, you know, doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means that she was stressed from the event and she's trying to protect him. And, you know, that's what they'll say, is that she was trying to protect, and they'll ask for some questions like that. Like, why didn't you say it to those people? And she'll say she's trying to protect them, which is pretty, you know, standard language. And, you know, I know I loved him and I didn't want anything to happen to him, but I just, you know, eventually decided I had to go to the police. So, you know, yeah. So, I mean, but if you're the defense, this is great because there's a jury instruction on that about the credibility of witnesses. And one of the issues is, are they consistent in what they say? Did what they say before mirror what they're saying now? And her first statement, and her statements are changing over time, that shows a limited or lack of credibility, because at first it's no assault is being alleged, and until law enforcement assault, including strangling, is alleged, and then he comes out with his own version of events, and then her statement is amended again. So all of that is an indication of a lack of credibility that they'll be able to point to at a trial. Just all the more reason they should just be quiet. Just be quiet, because you've got multiple different statements. They're going to contradict each other. So this is, I think, Katt, what you said is that you like to see the contradictions in things. There's contradictions here. So that's always
back and forth.
Always very helpful to the defense.
Right. Okay. We're going to go straight right back in the videos. Niger SGX says she sounds a bit intoxicated though.
So there was, and I'm assuming it had to have come from, or maybe it was like something she said to the paramedics, but there was, I think it was in one of the filings, it said she already had 6 drinks at this point. Because you could assume that Jonathan and her were together earlier in the night. Maybe they were at restaurants, you know how many items were ordered. But the number 6 was given, and it's just what someone's saying, right? We don't have any receipts in front of us or videos of her consuming 6 drinks. But we do have someone saying somewhere that she had 6 drinks at this point. So.
Right. So that could explain why she sounds a bit, why Niger picked up that you know she could be intoxicated. Fair enough. Somebody would have asked what happened to her face, right? Oh, that's fair. Yeah, well, I mean,
I'd love to hear what these witnesses here have to say with the power that the prosecution has. I wonder if they have these people under subpoena. The jury's going to want to hear from them. What did they observe? What didn't they observe?
Yeah, if they see this videotape and they're not in court, I think that's a slam dunk. That, you know, this is not this. I don't know. I mean, do you think that the prosecution would subpoena these witnesses to come in and testify, or at least give it?
I mean, I've seen plenty of times where the prosecution doesn't get all the witnesses that they need for whatever reason. Either they just don't think of it, or the people are not available. They can't find them, but they should get them. They should, because the jury's going to question, where are these people? Right. They're looking her in the eye immediately after this vicious assault. I don't know if you guys have seen Jonathan Majors. He's an extremely buff man. Extremely is, you know, like when they were saying, oh, you know, Johnny Depp, I was like, oh, he kind of looks a little weak, you know? And so, you know, like I could see why, you know, Amber Heard was really giving him a run for his money. But Jonathan Majors is a very big buff man, and I'm pointing that out if I'm the defense attorney. How much do you weigh? How many times a week do you work out? How tall are you? You know what I'm saying? Like, he trained in a boxing movie. Yeah, how much do you bench? What's your boxing speed? And you mean to tell me he boxed this lady and they don't report any injuries? And I'm just saying, hypothetically, maybe these people are under subpoena and maybe they say, no, she does definitely have injuries. But it's just, we can't insult people's common sense. You have this big buff guy who trained to be a boxer for a movie and is always on 10 with the workouts and stuff like that. Right. And this, what appears to be a very small, fair-skinned person, and they're not like, oh my God, this woman has clearly just been brutally assaulted. We need to call the police for her. Like, that's not what's happening right now.
Right.
Like, they're not communicating with her like she's someone who's just been assaulted. So all of that means that you need those people in court, unless they're not going to be helpful for you. And because the burden's on the prosecution, if they don't get these people in court, the defense should totally point that out. Like, where are these people? Because you can't see this grainy footage. You can't see her face, but those people can. Where are they? You know, and that if they get them, great. If they don't, that's a check for the defense.
Right. Thank you for that. I really love that perspective. I'm gonna go back.
Hold on, Natalie.
Oh, go on, Katt. Yeah.
I was gonna say, all right, you still have hair. I don't need to tie my hair back ever. I haven't had to tie my hair back in 30 years. But I've had a broken finger, and I had hair at that point in time. It was just a little, like, tiny little fracture on, the tip. It was so tiny. Right. And one of those things I didn't notice when it happened. But as soon as I touched it, I was like, you feel it, and then you're like, ah, crap, my finger's crooked. I couldn't tie my hair for like 3 weeks. I just used a clip and like wonkily pulled it to one side and just clipped it with my other hand. Yeah. But in this video, we see her using an elastic, not a loose scrunchie, but a tensile. Like elastic hair ties, it require more tensile, dexterity, strength.
Yeah.
And she uses her whole. You use like all your fingertips when you're using one of those bands to tie it back. And I don't know if men that don't have hair can understand the difference between a scrunchie, which is loose, and an elastic band, and the difference in the tensile strength it takes.
If your finger had just been broken because he grabbed you up and broke your finger, or snatched the phone and broke your finger, whatever the case may be, I've sprained my hand, I've broken my finger, I've really hurt my hands over the years. You're not tying back your hair. That hand.
You kind of like hold it out, like you go out of your way to make sure you're aware
like
of
this.
it.
Yeah, exactly. I remember I was like carrying files. I'd broken my hand playing soccer. So embarrassing. I broke my hand playing soccer. The soccer ball flew up and.
Oh, you got a handball?
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Boom. It hurt so bad. Hurt so bad. It was so like, how you break your hand playing soccer? You're supposed to use your feet. I'm like, excuse me, my so I'm trying to like go to court, and I got my hand all wrapped up, and I've got like all these files right here, and I have the files here and my hand out like that to like keep myself from knocking it on things. So none of that makes sense. So the way she's behaving now, unfortunately, that's what's let's look at it from the other perspective. People hate it when someone's alleging they're the victim of abuse and you're nitpicking. Yeah, and you're nitpicking every little thing that they're doing. And say, oh, she's doing this, she's doing that, or she's over exaggerating, or she's crying for dramatic effect, or she's not hurt enough. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. And it's like, yeah, I get that. But unfortunately, that's what happens when you go to a criminal case. This is exactly how the jury's going to be talking about it. This is how they're going to be talking about it.
Laura B said, welcome, Laura B. Your dog didn't step on a bee, I hope. Your dog didn't step. I'm forever bantering on your name. But yeah, it took me a while. But debunked by the Rolling Stone. Oh, I believe then. Going back to what was said. Yeah, like the Rolling Stone, the pinnacle of truth publishes. But I'm going to go back to the video. And we just finish all the video because it's really revealing what we're seeing here.
I'm a guy. I mean, my girlfriend said that. I don't have Kevin's box. You can steal it.
Here, give me your red belt. I'll give you
your red belt. You don't need money. It's fine. I have credit.
Everything I have is just fucking fun.
It was $13 if I'm ever homeless and like.
I see it. No way. No way.
If the jury were women, oh gosh, she best pray that the jury is not filled with women.
But the hand that's supposed to be damaged, she's holding a coat or something. You wouldn't do that. Rubbing her face, all types of no, you wouldn't do that.
This is insane. Like I said,
with both of her hands equally, that's very strange.
You're gonna get where you need to be.
Run, and then it
Then you have to put that on him. That's his fault.
That's his fault.
What was his fault? What did
That's
she
what
say
the dude said. The dude's trying to console her,
Mhm.
and I didn't actually hear what he said before.
Oh, is
She
that
said
him?
Before.
That's majors, by the way. The guy, if this guy approaches, I'm sorry, let's just go back for a second. If this guy
Like he's
approaches
like
me in the
walking past
club
her.
and
Mhm.
says, "Hey, you're talking to my woman," I am saying, I'm like, "Yeah, she's your woman, bye." And that was my girlfriend. That was my girlfriend. I'm like, "Bye, okay, yeah, she's your woman now." I'm running a mile. Why is this guy? You're telling me that this guy? Oh Lord. Nah, that's insane. After seeing all of that, that's actually insane because, as you said, he is buff.
It's a buff man.
He's buff. There is no way he is he's like breaking your hand and you're doing your hair up 5 minutes later. Like,
well, even in the body language, look at her hands frozen into the frame. Like, if you pull up that screen right now, because it's not showing for the audience, but she's like, well, come on. Like, she's making those, like, talk to me hands.
Yeah. Can they see it now?
Yeah, they can see it.
Oh, I see it. Yeah. So here's what I would say. Wow. Well, what I would say is, having broken my hand before and broken a finger on a separate occasion, the way she's using her hands doesn't make any sense. The way he's just walking past her and she's like kind of beseeching towards him, like that doesn't make any sense for someone who's just been, hit. And of course, they're going to talk about how women or men who are victims of abuse will like still try to pursue the person who abused them. And it doesn't mean that the abuse did not happen. But what's more likely than not that you're going to try to, let's just think about the fact, I bring it back to, I like to give examples as how I explain things to people. When Megan Thee Stallion was shot in the foot by Tory Lanez, she was bleeding, she was limping. The police made her fall on the ground. She went to the hospital. She was clearly on that video that they showed during the trial. She was clearly injured. Clearly injured. And this doesn't show clear injury or a person that's behaving like they're in pain physically, maybe emotional pain. So it just doesn't add up. And you can't tell people to put their common sense aside. Yeah, I would be focusing more on getting this video enhanced if I was his defense counsel and less on
PR
media displays and PR.
Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from now, because it's very helpful for him, and it doesn't make sense why they're like, why I didn't realize. Go on. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just didn't realize there was this good evidence for him. That's
the thing. Like, if you're a juror, you don't even need to spell it out. There's things that you haven't spoken out loud while we're watching this, and I've obviously seen it before, but there's my own thoughts that I have in my own head, and jurors will have their own thoughts that they have in their own head while they're watching this go down.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I think would be, if you get the chance, I'm gonna have to go soon, but if you get the chance to show them what Jonathan Majors like looks like, just so you can know, like, it's just insane to me. I thought she was gonna have like these really serious, the way they were talking, I thought she was gonna have some serious injuries. Like, if that man assaulted me and I'm bigger than her, I feel like I would be in a world of hurt. So I'm just very surprised that this is her presentation immediately after the assault. It just surprised me.
I believe that was because it's just 30 seconds left, so I'm just gonna play I'm gonna play the rest.
Bro,
like, what is he gonna do?
She's crying
and rubbing her face with both of her hands, and then goes after him.
Look at the other girl, though. We have assault on video.
The only person that goes.
And that's like,
That's actually funny. That like the people that actually got assaulted are not on trial, but the two people that are on trial didn't even. That's
just a joke. I don't think someone should slap someone in the chest, but I don't think I would be like, I'm going to press charges against you.
Yeah, right. I know.
That
might have been just playful banter or something. Who knows? But
it was her saying, "Don't go fight Jonathan Majors because he's clearly huge."
Right. What's wrong with you?
I was literally about to say that the guy has some balls to actually say, "I'm." That's actually try and square up to him. But that's the video. And your thread was very informative. I think you laid out a lot of
with the pictures of his face above there, Natalie, have you seen? It's not like the worst injuries in the world, but there's just a clear like cut on his face and a fingernail gash across his arm. I would like to see with metadata. So after this, he calls. They almost get back in the car. Apparently, these 3 witnesses are standing with them at the car. Immediately, as soon as Jabari and Grace are about to get back in the car, Jabari apparently starts wailing, and Majors gets out of the car for one last time. He calls a separate taxi cab and goes to stay at a hotel, where he gets there and takes these pictures. They're timestamped for 2:03 and 2:02 a.m. The one with the pillow is in the morning when he woke up. It just bled overnight. So we have clear timestamps with the EXIF data on the photos. Again, it's not like he's like got deadly injuries, but to me, that's clearly a fingernail scratch on the arm. I wouldn't say that was like, oh, he bumped into a car door and scraped himself. Like, that looks like a human fingernail.
Oh, hold on. They can't see it yet.
Okay.
They can't see it yet because I'm just sorting it out on the back end so that people can see it. It is quite a big document, but yes, okay, all good now. Apologies for that. So not Nat, Katt, as you were saying, in regards to the scratches, you can see.
Yeah, and
right
I
here.
agree. We have a chat coming in right now. It says, I find it interesting that he took this picture clearly before he goes back to the penthouse, some 7 hours later, 8 hours later. You know, it's, I don't know, sometimes you just take your phone and he didn't call the cops, but he took pictures here. But we don't see her engaging in that same thing, even though she gets her phone back at this moment when they go off screen back to the driver.
I think I can maybe offer a bit of a perspective here, because maybe, okay, I don't know how insurance works when you're working for a major studio, but if they see you with an injury, you know, these pictures could have just been so that you can justify why he's turning up with injuries on him, because again, I remember documents from the Johnny Depp trial where they were saying, where they brought up his insurance papers about his intoxication and drinking and that. And I'm like, okay, insurance covers injuries as well. So he could have the same insurance, and he needs to take these pictures to say, look, listen, this is what happened. It wasn't accidental, or it wasn't self-inflicted or anything like that. This is what happened, so that he can let the studios know that they don't have to worry too much. I don't know.
His body is an asset. It's like Rihanna having her legs insured or whatever.
yeah, right. Because I know it looks minor or small, but I do believe, I've never been in that position, so I wouldn't know, but I do think that major studios would actually want all of these things documented, even if it's just a minor cut or whatever.
Well, and that's great context, because, you know, at this point in time, there might not have been any reason to call 911 at this point. I think it's alleged and it's unclear. There might have been other 911 calls during the sidewalk. Yeah. But if there was no passing out in the closet, 911 at the penthouse, that call might not have ever happened. We might not have this story. We might not have any of this. So the fact that he still was like sitting there in his hotel room, and this is my opinion, you're sitting there looking at that and going like, damn, really? And you just take a picture of it. I think that a lot of us just work that way now.
Yeah.
Can I see his face again?
Right. Okay. 1 second. Okay. I think that was. Apologies if you have experienced any echo. That's me being a boomer and trying to work the system, but that's his face.
It's tiny. It's right above that.
Yeah. So he's got injuries here.
Oh, I see it now. I couldn't see it before at all.
Right. Okay.
Well, that's a pretty deep scratch.
Yeah.
Because it was in his beard hair, I couldn't see it.
I think that's why he like took the picture of the blood on the pillow the next day, because it picked open overnight.
Deep. Yeah.
I really think, I don't think he took these pictures because he was going to press charges. I just think he did this for insurance purposes. I personally, I don't know. I mean, this is just saying, oh, like, to me, it looks like he's trying to say, look, listen, I'm going to this, blah, 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 blah. You don't have to worry, blah, 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 because all of it is being handled, and, you know, it wasn't, you know, whatever you would need to say so that it doesn't bring, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't think I don't think anybody or he saw that this moment was gonna come, and he's like, oh, I must take pictures in case, you know. I don't know.
Just it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter why he took it.
Oh,
okay. It does not. And I like, as a litigator, I wouldn't care, and I wouldn't entertain that with the prosecution if they even tried to bring it up. I would completely shame them, because the metadata shows that.
What would you say?
It doesn't, like, you're not going to try to turn this around on him. He didn't do this to himself. The metadata showed he took it at a time concurrent with when it happened, right? And whatever her injuries are, it wasn't to the extent that those people were like, oh my God, this woman is injured, let's give her some help. So, you know, my client is the one with proof of injuries, and she is not. My client took out charges, and the prosecution ignored it. It's a biased prosecution. Like, if they ever tried to downplay his injuries just because he happened to take a picture of it,
right,
I would play them so hard in front of the jury. You know, like, they backed the wrong horse, and that's their problem. But my client's the real victim here.
Right.
I have to get going, Heinz. I'm so sorry.
No, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us, and I do appreciate all of your insight and, you know, providing the legal perspective, because it's really,
for sure.
It's really contextualized this case, because it's been a maze, like a literal maze from the moment, you know. I was hearing that she has Stockholm syndrome, by the way. I was hearing takes like that she has Stockholm syndrome, so she was sending that text saying that I'm gonna take the blame, I'm gonna do, you know, all those things. And I was like, guys, you don't know the case.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, when she was like, oh, I'm not going to go after you.
The social media reaction to those text messages showing he obviously strangled her, but then they dropped the strangulation charge.
Yeah. Well, that's why they should not have released them to the public, because the public is not going to be on your side no matter what. You release them to the jury, and you hit her with it. Now she's going to have so much time to prepare her answers to those questions about why she texted and that stuff. No. Whereas if you just left it alone, disclose it to the prosecution when you're supposed to, and then go to trial and then cross-examine her with it, you're going to get a much better effect. So, that's all I have to say. My criticism is for the defense team is that they're playing too much to the court of public opinion, and that's a lose-lose situation. You have to win the trial first. And the trial's not going to go away. They have to win the trial first before they can try and clean up his reputation.
Oh, thank you so much, Nat the lawyer chick, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for, you know, for this stream, and, you know, just giving your perspective for the Jonathan Majors case. I really do appreciate you. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a good. Is it day over there? Like,
it's day.
It's day. Okay. It's night. It's night over here. So I'm gonna get my ketchup bowl and do my thing. All right. Have a good day, and I hope you enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much.
Nice speaking to all of you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so it's just you and I, Katt.
So we are not attorneys.
We're not attorneys. As to be said, Kelsey.
We're just nosy people that have to break down the way people react to things the way they do.
Kelsey, thank you so much for joining the chat. I appreciate all of you. And you always good to hear from you, Natalie. Naja HTX, Houston, Texas. I think that would be right.
Houston.
Yeah, okay. Personally, I don't believe this sounded like a bad woman text more than it sounded like guilt. I agree. Based on what we've seen so far, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. It does sound like guilt to me.
I think it's, they just call 911, and she's a celebrity. He is a celebrity, and it's not like she's not connected in Hollywood. Her livelihood is also well ingrained in, public relations, because if she wants to work with other people on movie sets, it's not going to be good for her to be on the accusatory side of a criminal case that ends in not guilty charges. that's going to be bad for her career. So she's waking up, she's coming off of being drunk. And maybe we should actually rewind and go into what happens at 2 a.m. for her while he's taking these pictures. So for anyone that hasn't, followed the timeline, this group of 3 strangers that she meets here, once Jonathan Majors goes his separate way for the night, he goes to the hotel, she actually goes out with them for the night.
Yeah.
She goes out. So he's taking these injury pictures while she goes to the club.
Yes.
And we have surveillance footage from the club.
Right.
She runs up his credit card. She charges a whole $800 bottle of champagne to his card. She pays for the ride with the card. She buys other drinks and shots at the bar with the card. There's statements from the bartender saying she appeared to be completely fine with no injuries on her face. In one of these dancing videos, if you can, so that's just a still. I don't think that's a video. But if you go to the other video, pull it up.
Find it. No, but keep going.
It's in the Insider article.
Insider.
But they have her like, look, when I go out, I go to like. We don't do like twirly dancing where I go. So when I heard that there was a video for dancing and her finger was fine, I was like, how would you even know? But she's actually held by her finger being led, the finger that's supposed to be broken. A guy that she's dancing with leads her with that finger and twirls her around. And they have video footage of it.
Okay. Let me try and find it. Insider Majors CCTV. Apologies. Oh, by the way, if you've heard any echoes, apologies for that, because again, that's me being a massive boomer, not knowing when to mute certain things. But I'm trying. If you have the link to the video,
so
please,
I'm gonna I'll DM it on Twitter.
Yeah. Yes,
unless we have a chat in here.
No. Yeah. DM it through. There is a chat in there, so you can DM it through the control room. I'll just speak to the chat for a second, because Niger, Houston, Texas, actually did say something very interesting. He says, I wonder what him feel like he needed to take this pic. What made him feel like he needed to take this pic? I do wonder what happened in London September. Okay, you need to tell me this. What happened in London September 2022? Because
okay, so on the 24th, when the Rolling Stone and Variety dropped their articles where they're looking at this 115-page opposition response to the defense's motion to dismiss that was filed on October 13th, the opposition, they're covering this thing from 2 weeks ago. In it, they say they went through this 115 pages and they're pulling out examples of what the prosecution has. So this is why I'm saying this is where the prosecution's playing the media war. They're going through Rolling Stone and Variety. There were like 3 major things that they brought up. One, a claim that, the prosecution is saying that the DA, that the defense is mishandling and misrepresenting witnesses and evidence. Their one example they gave of that is the driver of the livery car who gave a statement in interviews describing Jabari as the obvious aggressor in the vehicle. This is before they spill out onto the street. It's just in the vehicle with the driver and the 2 of them fighting over the phone, where she saw the text message saying, I wish I was kissing you right now.
Oh.
They were tussling in the car, and the driver gave a witness statement saying she was the obvious aggressor and was acting like a, quote, this is his words, psycho girl. So in this 115-page response, with Rolling Stone and Variety trying to pull juicy bits out of it, right? They're going to report the best of what they can. They say, oh, one of the reasons that they're misrepresenting witnesses is because they took this driver's quote, and he has domestic issues of his own, because he said that Jabari reminds him of his wife when his wife is angry with him. So to me, that's really weak, right? We have Rolling Stone and Variety. To me, it seems like they're trying to go through this 115-page response. The motion to dismiss was 26 pages, by the way. So if you need 115 pages to respond, and the best thing you can pull out of it is something like this, I have questions. One of the other items was this: they're trying to work with the Metropolitan Police over in the UK for an incident that happened at a stadium in London. Now, there's no details. Rolling Stone and Variety don't have any details, and they had the 115-page report in front of them. So this is a discovery issue, right? Either they don't know, or they can't put it in the complaint because they're not able to pull the information over from the UK. So the only details we know is that in 2022, some incident happened in the stadium. It's unclear. And in fact, I think one article, just Rolling Stone, suggested it was not involving Grace Jabari and that there was a hospitalization record of some sort. But for this incident, there was no arrest made. And it's why the Metropolitan Police doesn't want to get involved, because they have nothing to say if there was no arrest made. There was no investigation.
Yeah.
So now we had a headline on October 25th and 26th, depending on when the respective outlets came out with it. They all ran this headline about some other abusive issue, that making this image that Jonathan Majors battered maybe Grace Jabari. They didn't even clarify that it wasn't Grace Jabari in these headlines. And you've got that running like wildfire, but I don't, it's not to say for sure if it'll even be admissible at trial.
Right.
Because, and that's what I believe the defense is motioning to seal. They don't want it to be unsealed. Because it did say they were motioning to seal something that had private medical records. So we know hospitalization. I guarantee you that's the contentious issue, is that 2022 incident. But there are no details, and as far as how I'm reading the Rolling Stone and Variety, details of that are not included in the 115-page motion.
I don't take anything they do seriously, in my honest opinion, because they don't report. This is just my opinion, so you can come sue me. They don't report factually anyway. So I don't take them seriously at all. But I do appreciate your context, the context that you provided there. I love your knowledge of this case, because
it's headline fodder. It's the same game, just like Natalie pointed out. The defense releases these text messages. Maybe it's not a good strategy, but the prosecution is running through the media, through Rolling Stone and Variety, and I think they have the burden to produce more information.
People don't see that the prosecution is using those major outlets to litigate their case at the same time. So when they
have the burden, it's their obligation to find the truth. It is not. Obviously the criminal defense attorney, if the truth is innocence, they want to find that too, but
no, it's true. Jackie says, wow, where have I been? I haven't heard of this case until today. Well, welcome. You're in the right place to know about this case. There is a entire playlist of this case. If you go onto the playlist tab on my YouTube channel, you will see it is the Jonathan Majors. I've covered it comprehensively from the start to now. I haven't done any new videos, but this is the latest update in regards to the case. And Natalie was here breaking down, so you can always replay and
rewatch. She gives great insights. And remember, she's a trial attorney. She's not just doing paperwork and settlements and deals. She's the bulldog. She's the bulldog on the attack in the courtroom.
Yeah, she actually does this. So I'm so grateful that she was here to even break down a little bit, because letting me know that, because I was all for the PR game. I was like, get it out. We need to hear it. And then she's like, no, if you have this, you don't do that. So that was really refreshing to understand. Here, I should say, not understand. Anyway, mind you, the lawyer, Niger says, mind you, the lawyer claims when Jonathan Majors arrived to the Benton house and eventually was able to get to his bedroom, they witnessed throw up on the bed, sleeping pills, and unconscious Grace Jabari. We're gonna go right.
She was in the closet. Yeah, you have that video up. Let's do the timeline and get to this point, because this is something I didn't. In the bed, pills, and being in a bed. Puking in the bed, getting up, spilling pills, and then passing out till someone comes and gets through the door in the closet.
Right. Apologies for that, because it seemed like my page had completely died. So
do you want the insider link?
No, I found it now. I found the club link. I'm just trying to make sure I don't make the same mistake twice. Okay, 1 second.
So if you did just join, we're catching up. 2 a.m. Jonathan Majors, they've separated for good. He's in a hotel. He takes pictures of his injuries on his arm and his face. He has a cut on his face at 2:02 and 2:03 a.m. Meanwhile, Grace Jabari is en route to go out to the club with the 3 strangers she met on the sidewalk when she had still needed to get her purse from the livery vehicle that they were in. Yeah. So she's going out. She's still awake.
Yeah, let me just share the screen one more time. That's what I failed to do. Okay. There we go. Oh God. Oh, got it up. Yes.
And it's really hard to see, but she's being led by the finger that's supposed to have been injured at this point already.
Right. Let's go. So yeah, this is
and
the
2:27 a.m. timestamp. So
right. That's Grace Jabari. Look at the timestamp. The same thing. I think in the previous coverage as well, in the coverage that I've done on the channel, yeah, we shown timestamp of her leaving the club. This is I do with the context that we've seen now, and with what the insider articles have shown, it does make sense that this just doesn't line up. Like, you literally saw Majors and he didn't want to talk to you. Like, that surveillance is actually now it's this case. And I wanted to ask Natalie this. I really did. Oh Lord, I really did. But this case, in my opinion, should be thrown out. Just based on this, because it is really weak otherwise. I don't know what kind of defense that they can hope to build from this. Oh, where's Natalie? Come back. I don't know what kind of defense they can hope to build from this, because I don't know. I would fold at this point. I would try and reach a deal or something like that, or something. I don't know. What do you think of this? Like,
in all seriousness, I think, and this is just my take, and we'll get there with the timeline, but I think Grace was telling the truth when she wanted to let her apology be heard by Jonathan Majors. But once Jonathan Majors was not conceding to salvage the relationship, she was like, well, fuck it, I've already said this, I'm not going to backtrack on it. And I'm sure I would imagine she's had to weigh the options of doing that. Right. And we have no telling if she is going to testify, which I assume that's why we had last week's mess with the surrendering for her own arrest, and then it being dropped within 24 hours. It's pretty clear that the prosecution expects her to testify on November 29th or whenever the trial takes place. But we still don't know what she might actually transparently try to say in the stand. She could, at that point, you never know. Someone could get up there and be like, look, I was injured. I don't know how I got injured that night, but he's hurt me before.
Right.
And it could go down a whole rabbit hole. Or she could be like, I don't know how I was injured, but I was injured, and that's all I can say. Because that's all I actually know. So we don't know what she would actually testify to when she's sitting in a courtroom with Jonathan Majors sitting there.
Damn. Oh Lord. I thank you so much, Katt, for all of this. I'm so happy that we got to do this, and I'm so happy that we got to do this stream. I'm gonna bring the stream to a close. Damn, there's an echo. That's just me. That's me. I'm sorry guys. Boomer. I have controls here I'm supposed to use. I forget to use them. I'm supposed to mute in and out because that was for the video, but anyway, never mind. But as I was saying, I really wish I asked Nat why this case hasn't been thrown out yet, based on this evidence and how prosecutions. But for another stream, I will ask that question and I will get my answers. Thank you so much. Ada says, how is she going to defend her? How is she going to defend her saying that she injured herself to her friend before Jonathan Majors?
Yep. Whoa, so that was at like 7:30 in the morning. That was like she apparently called a friend and sent pictures of her injuries. Said she got really scrappy with Jonathan last night, and that she doesn't know how she got these injuries. So this is, I'm assuming, before she passed out in the closet. So I don't think that all of her injuries can be attributed to maybe a fall in the closet. We don't know what pictures she sent to her friend, but I'm sure the defense does. And if they don't, the prosecution's supposed to turn that over, and they will. But we can presume that she sent some type of injury that she incurred at some point before 7:30, but not before she passed out in the closet.
Right.
But if she didn't send pictures of a certain thing at that point, that could make her look even worse, because, well, if you had a broken finger but didn't send this picture to your friend, is it not possible that you fell in the closet and jammed your finger while you were falling, trying to grab something? So those
Reasonable.
pictures, depending on what
That's
they are, could be even worse if she doesn't send pictures of
right.
all of her alleged injuries to her
Right.
friend.
Right. So now it makes sense why Natalie was saying, that's reasonable. That that is that. Oh my God. If he
And
doesn't win
she
this,
told the police and
yeah,
it's supposed to be on the body worn camera footage, I don't know, 19 times
right,
about how she got injured. And that's where you have the allegations of the cops coaching her with the
right,
strangulation motions. And we have not seen this video. This is all the defense's characterization in their motions to the
right,
court that are describing these things as such. So we do not have our eyes on what we're being told. This is
right.
how it goes.
Oh wow. This
Yeah.
case. No, this case has always been a wormhole maze from the, I don't know what you want to call it, whatever you want to call it. It's been messy, it's been complicated, and I hate characterizing cases like that because it should really be simplified, but it just seems like lawyers are swinging their dicks.
Yeah.
It
You're getting another
it just
comment that
seems like that. It just
your
seems
mind's
like
gonna be blown. Did you see the doctor's report?
there was a doctor
So
report?
yeah, so you can pull up
I'm
Naja's comment.
woefully okay. Yeah, please wait. Is it in the same article? Is it in the
So
same
we
article?
get this. This is something. No, well, it's mentioned, but it's not. There's no document in it.
Okay.
But
That's from your thread. Yes. Let me go get it.
the prosecution
Let me
produced
go get it.
this.
Continue.
The prosecution produced this at some point before August 21st, but not too soon before August 21st, because in a defense letter to the prosecution on August 21st, they complained that they had delayed discovery for this
Right.
interview that they had with the treating physician at Bellevue Hospital for Grace Jabari's injuries. And his name, I think it was Peter Xiang, was the treating physician.
Oh no, it's
And
not
in his
working.
interview, you know, the fracture she has on her finger is consistent with, you know, the trauma of hitting an object.
Ooh.
So it's not consistent. He says, although it's possible, it's not uncommon for it to be caused by a twist or, you know, the motions one would assume. The image was he tried to pry her finger from the phone when she was grabbing the phone. That's the image most people have.
Right.
If you look at social media commentary, well, obviously she has a finger breaking if he was trying to get his phone back, but we don't see any evidence of that from the time they had contact. And then the doctor says that it's inconsistent, but they waited 4 months to interview him. The prosecution waited 4 months to interview him.
Why would you do? Whoa. Okay. Right. No, that does sound sus. I'm not gonna lie. I can't get the document up. I've tried to. Maybe you can get it up your end because you can share your screen in the chat, but I can't get the document cloud up. While you're doing that,
is it because it's to your Twitter tab? Is your source linked to the Twitter tab rather than the browser where you were showing previously?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm a boom. Like I said, I'm really bad with technology. Like I can figure things out to a level, but not everything. Right now.
Hold on, let me close my 18 tabs to make sure I get to the right one.
Right. So I'll read some chats while you're doing that. Niger, Houston, Texas says, and the doctor's statement about her finger that was hidden in the 2 terabytes of evidence stated that her broken finger most likely happened due to direct trauma. You guys are way ahead of me on this one.
Well, that's a huge detail too.
That's a massive detail.
That's the discrepancy when at one of the hearings the people were like, we're not ready for trial, and the judge, it was Gaffey, he was like, well, the clock's ticking on the people's watch, because that's in relation to Rule 3030 and speedy trial. You know, the judge admonished the prosecution at this point in time, but a week and a half later when they met again, then Priya Chaudhry was like, Your Honor, we're not ready. And the public freaked out about it because it seemed hypocritical. But in between that, like, week and a half time period, they were dumped almost 3 terabytes of data of evidence with files that weren't openable. They couldn't open the X-ray files. Important stuff, right? That's not like here's something for you to dig through. And whatever else was in it, they had to sort through. So, and if you want the details on that, it is all laid out. Priya Chaudhry kind of went bananas in the motion to dismiss, in my opinion. Detailing.
I'm trying to get open the defense letter, but bear with me, folks. Let me try. Oh, okay, cool. You've got it up. So so let me just go straight and sort that out right now. And just share your screen. It's gonna take a while.
So you wanted to look at the defense letter?
Yeah, that's basically.
Or we have insiders summarizing it right here. The prosecutors waited until a month ago. So this was September 14th. They published this article, which means August. So you have all the way from March to August that they waited to interview the Bellevue Hospital ER physician.
You have the power, so you can scroll through as you read this.
Sweet.
Go ahead.
Sorry about the ads. I didn't open it in an ad blocker window. Majors contends that Jabari had sustained those injuries not while fighting with him, but in a drunken fall after returning alone to his 3-story penthouse apartment.
Mm-hmm.
The physician, it was William, I had his name wrong, William K. Xiang, supports that scenario. He told prosecutors that, quote, a fracture like the one Miss Jabari sustained on her finger is commonly found in patients who had direct trauma, usually found from hitting an object or from falling. Assistant District Attorney Kelly Galloway told the defense in a newly public August 18th email. So that August 18th email is not written by Attorney Kelly. It is referred to as a footnote and attached as an exhibit that the public does not see.
Right.
So we can't actually pull up Attorney Galloway's production of that evidence. We can only see that it's used in a footnote in this defense's letter. The prosecutors allege Majors broke Jabari's finger while trying to pry his cell phone out of her hand. Now, this is huge because the prosecution needs to say what injuries occurred, when they occurred, and how they occurred. These are all things that they need to lay out when they're trying to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt that support the underlying charges. So they can't just go to trial and then run with this whole story that, oh, he broke her finger while pulling the phone back in the car earlier in the night at midnight. But if testimony doesn't make it look good, they can't just turn around mid-trial and say, oh, you broke her finger in the penthouse apartment.
Yeah.
So the prosecution, if they're saying these details, they're, in a way, they are kind of locked in. They're especially going to be locked in as soon as opening statements happen. And then let's see.
This is a slam dunk case, to be honest. It seems clear cut.
The assistant DA, she's very young. She was only appointed in 2021, directly out of an internship.
More questions I didn't ask, like the young judge. Next stream, I'm gonna try and get her up.
And the judges have been back and forth. Every hearing, there's like a different judge. The judge isn't appointed, and that's not completely unusual, but the judge isn't really decided until the court reporter's in the courtroom and sees who's sitting there.
All right. Go ahead.
And then this article with Insider, it gets into the debate between the iCards for the arrest and what's going on with that. Remember, this is from September 14th. This article was published. But really, the two details on that, Jonathan Majors filed the complaint in 2 different precincts back in June. Priya Chaudhry and the rest of her team kept going at the defense, or the prosecution, in their defense letter that they wrote and in their motion to dismiss, that it's your obligation to produce and investigate and search for information regarding your own witnesses, regarding if they have any active investigations into them. You haven't turned over any information relating to the iCard that is active. You haven't turned over any information to us about conversations you've had with the NYPD about that iCard. You haven't turned over any information to us about conversations you've had with Grace Jabari, who is your witness, that may involve conferring benefits for her to come back and testify, that involve, immigration benefits because she was on a work visa, for her to come back to the country and testify. And these are all things that they may not be nefarious, right? So, if you're a victim of a crime, a bad crime, and you don't have a lot of money, it would kind of suck if you have to come pay to stay in a hotel in Manhattan to be able to testify. It's not always nefarious that, the district attorney would be like, well, we're going to cover your hotel stay. It's not like it's necessarily a bad thing. but it's always the prosecution's burden to disclose this stuff to the defense.
All right.
Under both New York statute and federal Brady-Giglio policy. So
no, so thank you so much for that, because you have so much context, especially being in New Yorker yourself. I hope I didn't get that wrong, because anyway,
I was born in Queens. I didn't ever live in Manhattan.
is really great insight. And Nigel has a question here, and we are gonna close up very, very soon. I'm reaching my time limit. It's only 2 hour streams now. I don't want to go over that. But yeah, he says quick. Nigel says, if the verdict concludes that Jonathan Majors is guilty, what do you think would have went wrong personally? I know you all aren't. We're not lawyers.
I think that comes down to the jury. I mean, that's always going to come down to the jury. The prosecution might not understand their decision. The defense might not understand their decision. Again, I think a lot of the shock, regardless of how this case will go, there's going to be half of social media is going to be shocked if he's found not guilty. Half of social media is going to be shocked if he is found guilty, based on what people do or do not know about the facts of the case. I think a lot of people had this image when the news broke on March 25th that he stood in the penthouse apartment strangling her and then dropped her on the ground and she was passed out. I think that's really how people envision this. If you go back and look at old tweets, the verbiage is, he definitely strangled that woman. And it's like, and then that's not what happened.
Now they're caught with their pants down. I don't know how it goes,
and to be fair, now to feel like we were fooled, I have to watch this for myself. If the prosecution's been playing a game in the media too. They've had all these accusations that there's other victims that are cooperating, and they keep saying victims. and maybe they'll show up at trial, and that could change where we think that this case should go based on the evidence we have available to us. And I might be shocked to hear that verdict if I don't know that stuff's presented. This is a domestic violence case. There's a protective order in place. The court website is bare bones. You can't find the motions on it. You barely have any information about the next upcoming appearances. The complaint isn't issued because it's a domestic violence case. It's just proper procedure for privacy of victims, alleged or not, to protect that information. The judge has gotten more strict with press access to the court, not just the room, but the courthouse. So if this does go to trial, it might not be something where we're able to watch all the testimony. I would probably think we will not be able to have a peek at the trial as it's going on. And that's very different. I'm from the things that people know me discussing previously. I'm usually breaking down live courtroom streams on Twitter and commenting on it. And we won't have that here. I really don't think we'll have that here.
No. And I just want to say thank you so much for, bringing your A game here, because
no problem. You have the whole beginning context of this evidence, everything that was available up until that mid-June, where the iCards, your video went up through the iCards, right?
Yeah.
Guys, if you want to catch up on this and don't want to try to search through the Twitterverse for yourself, the Xverse, go back to his Jonathan Majors. It's pinned at the top of his channel. He basically runs through from the start how it was reported all the way through the mid-June. And then I cover everything from mid-June through what went up to with the messenger story of Grace Jabari voluntarily surrendering for her arrest.
Do you want to come
so
back?
you can get the full story. Yeah, I'll come back on. Because I think the timeline from 3 a.m. to 9 a.m. with the text messages is just insane. And
the specific video for the timeline is I believe it's what you're not really I forgot my own titles, but what you're not, the untold truth about Jonathan Majors. Like, so that's the video. I laid out the time literally from timestamps from when she was in the club to here. So with this stream and with what's come out now, again, it is very, the picture is almost full. We just don't see this cab video that the defense says that they have, or heard from the driver. of the cab. So that's the only part that's actually left in this case. So I'm gonna close off here, and I'm gonna say thank you so much, Katt, for
No problem at
joining.
all.
Please do more content. I swear to God, if you don't do any more
I
content,
know my accidental channel. Guys, if you give me a topic that's too long for Twitter, I'll probably just make a video about it. So just tweet me something, and maybe I'll
You're
turn
so
into a video.
precise. I'm gonna big you up here. You're very precise in everything that you do.
I don't like to not know. I don't like to speak on something that, I mean, I'll clearly say when I don't know a detail. I don't have a problem with that, but I don't like to have an opinion on something with like just a reaction to what I hear.
Right. But no, keep it up. I'm really happy that you've covered this case, and you've really helped me a lot in the beginning stages. People don't know this, but a lot of the things that you've been bringing out, like, oh my gosh, you hear about this? I'm like, oh my God, please let me wake up. Let me just wake up. Because every morning you're like, oh my God, this happened to an agency. I'm like, okay, all right, where's my coffee? Where's my coffee? But I really appreciate you, because I think, remember when because before Grace Jabari was what I mean, I think remember when I was doing my scavenger
when nobody knew her name.
Yeah. I took the picture from that I don't know, for some message boards, and then I was like, who is this person? 5 minutes. I think it was literally 5 minutes you took to find out, oh, it could be this person, and then you brought up a whole dance.
It was I think that a lot of that came from like Lipstick Alley and those celebrity forums. They already knew who she was, and I think it was the New York Post that was the first one to just say her name. They pulled pictures from her Instagram and put her handle, Grace Jabari. And everyone else was like, well, why are you saying the victim's name? And there is principle to that. There is, she did ask for an order of protection. But at the same time, you were sort of a public figure dating someone that was a public figure, and there's public footage of you out and about. So I don't think that was ever going to be completely contained. It's not just like Joe Schmo, never been on a video recording in their life. No one knows Jane and John. It's a slightly different. I don't think that in a low profile case, the name would be in the news. But
thank you. Nigel says thank you, Katt and Dr. Heinz. No problem.
Yeah, you're welcome, you guys. Welcome. You can like tweet me if you have a question and I'll break it down, or I know it's hard to go down a timeline. If I've talked about it before, I'll go find the thread and link you to it, so you don't have to go dig for it.
Our Twitters are literally under our cameras, so you can literally see it. It's literally under there, so you can go follow and tweet anytime. Thank you so much for everyone for joining. And
great keeping us on our toes in the chat, correcting the details, because there's a lot.
You know what? I didn't think that the chat would know this much about the case, like especially Niger, Houston, Texas. Like, you have been raw. Like, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for bringing up bringing your perspective and all of it. I hope you have a great day too, and I hope you have a good day, Katt. What is your YouTube channel, please? What's your at? What's your at?
So it was a joke. I put at good take _ bad take. I mean, it's valid. That is kind of what I want to talk about, but it might change.
I like it. No, I think you should literally build on that. I think you should literally build on good take, bad take, because we are gonna have good takes and we are gonna have bad takes. And I think I haven't heard a channel called it, so that could be your niche. I want if you cannot tell by now, I want you to do this, and I don't want to be alone in this. It's lonely in here. But anyway, thank you. What? Jonathan says ketchup is a steak, not on steak, because that is Hey, Jonathan. Aaron.
Hey, Aaron, for the replay crew.
Hey.
I like my steak with salt, pepper, butter.
Corner. Hey, welcome. I appreciate you guys. Vida, thank you so much.
Well, if you do a part 2, bring the alternate corner in, maybe. That'd be good.
Yes.
We'll go over
honestly, I'm when this case, whatever develops from this case, I will try and bring back Natalie so that she can answer a bit more questions, because I did leave a couple of stones that were still not turned. Bad host. But but honestly, I appreciate everything she has said on the stream. I appreciate everything that you have said on the stream. The information that you've provided, every insight that both of you have provided. Thank you ever so much. And I'm going to close the stream.
Shut it down.
I'm
We'll be
gonna
back.
shut it down. But maybe I was here all along. Oh my gosh, Jonathan. maybe she was. I appreciate you too. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to go now. But Katt, I hope you have a great day. In
Bye.
Florida, Miami. And bye everyone. Have a great evening. Thank you for tuning in. Take care of yourself and bless.